Hey all, this is a message to any first-person shooter fans out there, especially Counter-Strike and Valorant types. I'm currently fighting for my life, trying to get a game made that I think you would really love. It's a Kickstarter stretch goal of mine. This video is part of a larger video that I have on my channel if you're interested in Kickstarter's other goals, but if you just like video games, just watch this. And if you like what you see, please back the project and this bad boy can get made. Thank you very much.
Teamstar is this fictional world's version of Counter-Strike, where that game is counter-terrorists trying to stop terrorists from planting a bomb at one of two bomb sites. Teamstar is a team of infiltrators trying to escape through one of two doors that the defenders are protecting.
Now you just can't leave.
The doors don't open automatically, so if the infiltrators manage to take an exit site, they have to defend long enough to get the door open and escape. Every member of their team who makes it out earns them a point. After 6 rounds, the team switch roles, and whoever has the most points at the end of that wins the map. Now you may be asking yourself, what does the name Teamstar even mean in all of this? Well, it turns out that all the maps have boundaries, not shaped like this, but instead shaped like this. The terrain, structures, and features of the map each differ greatly within them, but the boundaries always look like this, because the map actually exists on the arm of a star, hence the name Teamstar. It's also a 5-arm star for a reason. In a lot of tournaments, sets of games are usually played. Best of 3 or best of 5 is typical. A star with 5 arms enables both of those options. There's a lot more that goes into the gameplay side of things that makes Teamstar really fun and unique.
Alright, let's talk about mechanics. I am a huge fan of first-person shooters, and in all my time playing them, I've come to appreciate the different ways games simulate movement and firing mechanics. Call of Duty always felt fast and responsive. Battlefield made me feel like I was actually in the midst of a real war, rewarding me for compensating for things like bullet drop, and also just being a wacko with C4 and motorbikes. Counter-Strike felt like the professional shooter, a difficult but rewarding platform that emphasized mind games and teamwork above all else. But something I learned in pursuing the advanced fighting game mechanics in Smash Bros. Melee was that an enjoyable physics engine built with integrity might be the single most important part of a fun, dynamic gaming experience. That's what I want for Teamstar, a great physics engine that rewards players for putting building blocks together themselves, making the game their own. What does this look like in a first-person shooter? Well, let's examine the most obvious part first. The shooting. Different shooters have different ways for simulating how their weapons work. For example, in Fortnite, the game uses a spread pattern with cones of probability to determine where a given shot might land. This is an extremely simple and easy thing to implement, but it's also my least favorite method of simulation. The random distribution in the cones makes it feel too random and less skill-based compared to other methods. In contrast, in a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, different weapons have consistent spread patterns of recoil, which you can learn and counteract with your mouse to get more accurate shots in full auto. So if the gun moves up and then to the right, you'd pull down and then to the left at the same time. As much as I love Counter-Strike and enjoy this mechanic, it's always struck me as a little weird, like no automatic rifle actually does this. There are other types of recoil simulation, but I've fallen in love with a relatively new method which I think offers the best of all worlds. If you've played Escape from Tarkov, you're familiar with this mechanic, but I first experienced a simpler version of it in a lesser-known game called Ravenfield. Basically, wherever the barrel of your character's gun is pointed when you pull the trigger, that's where the bullet is going to go. A physics-based model like this means you're rewarded for planning your movement carefully, knowing you can rapidly fire your rifle, but you'll have to compensate as best you can as you see your arm struggle against each shot, changing where the barrel is pointed. I'm no expert on this stuff, so the finer details will have to be ironed out by devs, but to me this feels more connected with the whole universe of the game, as if the guns actually follow the same physics which govern the rest of the game, which is actually the case. We're not stopping there though. The idea of a physics-based combat infiltration game extends beyond just the recoil mechanics. I always loved Battlefield's destructible environments, and I think it would be great to have some damage that's done to the map stay from round to round, at least until you switch sides. In addition to this, players could use elements of the environment to kill or obstruct in creative ways. Is there an infantry trench beneath a tree line? Why not blow up a tree in such a way as it falls on the players in there and crushes them? Or how about this? What if there's a particularly good spot to snipe from in a high hide? Well, why not invest in some explosives to take it out in an early round to avoid having to deal with the other team's crack sniper camping in it later? It's expensive, but maybe it's worth it. It's all about making a fun physics system that rewards creativity, giving players flexibility. I think you can never go wrong giving a player interesting powers of expression in a game. Of course, an equal part of encouraging creative gameplay is setting boundaries. Win conditions, timers, environmental constraints, and Teamstar has those as well. The infiltrating team will have 3 minutes each round to escape at one of 2 exit sites. They start at the tip of the shard and must make their way inward. By the way, I've taken to calling these maps shards. See, because they're like shards of glass, I guess. I don't know, I like it. In the center of every shard, there is a goodie hut, for lack of a better term, that contains a map-specific special weapon or utility. This can be something like a really powerful sniper rifle or a remote-controlled drone or something along those lines. The goodie is not available at the immediate start of the match, but can be accessed after a minute has passed. Both teams can decide if it's worth it to try and secure the goodie, adding another layer of tactical consideration to every round. There's also a day-night cycle which will constrain and affect strategies one might employ. With 12 rounds on each map, 6 rounds are played as infiltrators and 6 are played as defenders. The day-night cycle begins the first round at dawn. The next round is morning, then noon, afternoon, dusk, and finally night, dividing each cycle into equal parts lighter and darker rounds. The cycle starts anew when you switch sides. Another constraint is cash. The biggest constraint in life, turns out. Like Counter-Strike and Valorant before it, Teamstar will have an economic system, rewarding successful rounds with money you can use to buy more and better weapons to start the next round. Defenders will have access to generally more generic infantry weapons, whereas the infiltrators will have more special ops or silenced weapons, reflecting their respective roles. In addition, each side can save up to purchase their own ultimate armor. For a high price, the infiltrators have access to a stealth suit, kind of like the Predator's cloaking in the hit sci-fi movie Predator. Defenders, on the other hand, have access to a battle suit, a hardened, bullet-resistant exterior, kind of reminiscent of the Space Marine armor from Warhammer, or that one guy's attempt to make a bear-proof suit. Of course, the key to all this is their respective goals. For infiltrators, it's exiting the map to score points. For defenders, it's killing the infiltrators to prevent them from scoring. At first blush, this does seem slightly unbalanced in favor of the defenders, where infiltrators will value keeping all their players alive, since that's the only way to score points which they need to win the map. Defenders won't have this constraint. Plus, if there are set exit points, couldn't the defenders just hurl grenades into any site as a way to maximize kills every round? Well, I do have some potential answers here. First, defenders will have to think twice about heedlessly throwing all their lives away, because if the infiltrators manage to totally eliminate everyone on the defender team in a given round, they get an extra point, a bonus point for a total team wipe. This means defenders will be incentivized to play it somewhat cautious if they, for example, think trying to retake an exit site won't be successful. As for the exits themselves, there are no set exits. The sphere in the center of the star is the goal, but an infiltrator can open a doorway anywhere along its surface inside an exit site. This means defenders can't just rig explosives or throw grenades in a pre-planned way. Okay, we've covered a lot of stuff so far. I'm trying not to overwhelm you, but I do want to share all the things that, to me, when taken together, make Teamstar something unique. The last thing I'll touch on is how damage works. In keeping with the physics-based theme, I wanted damage to track with where and how you've been hit in a unique way. In Counter-Strike, shots on different parts of the body produce different amounts of damage, likewise with different weapons. This also depends on if the player's shot has purchased body armor or a helmet or both. In Teamstar, shots to armored parts of a player might kill or might not, depending on the type of weapon, but the bullets could theoretically knock off or destroy your helmet as well, making subsequent shots on you more effective. Lastly, the coolest and perhaps most brutal part of the damage system is what happens to your player model when you're shot. If you take a bullet to the arm, that shot might take your whole arm off. Oh no! So now you're running around trying to fire a rifle with one hand. Probably best to switch to a pistol. Anywhere a shot lands unimpeded, the bullet carves out a chunk from the player model, which will affect how you move and shoot until the end of the round. This can create some funny situations where a functionally immobilized player can still hold angles or spot for you. You might have a situation where a chunk taken from your torso hasn't killed you, but it does mean your firing arm bounces up and down way more when you're moving, making it harder to aim. And I do love the idea of trying to, as the infiltrators, haul immobilized but still living teammates through an exit to score points. That just seems objectively hilarious. The point here is not brutality. In fact, I think it would be better to have blue blood or even a kind of crystalline interior to the player models a la Twilight. The idea is to give a new dimension to damage and how you, as a player, can find ways to overcome it. Of course, if you're hit successfully in any of the classic kill zones one might expect, you'll be dead. Brain, spinal cord, maybe some vital organs will be insta-kills. Other hits might take a while to kill you, giving time for some last-second heroics. And that's about it. I've got a few more ideas on how the map designs might work, but overall, you should now have a good idea of what makes Teamstar unique. If what I've described makes you wish this game actually existed right now and you could play it, welcome to the club! Obviously, the odds are not in our favor that this will get enough attention to reach the stretch goal of actually making this game, and to be honest, that's okay. People know me for video game documentaries, not making video games. Or books, for that matter. But by this point, everyone who has supported me and seen my work should know me for at least one thing. I do not quit. When I get passionate about an idea, I follow it through to the end, no matter what. I keep my promises, and I promise you, if you share my passion for these ideas, you won't be sorry you helped make it happen. And heck, some of these ideas are not going to work, and will get better with time and tweaking, especially with beta testing help from people like you. So please help if you can. Share this with people who you think might enjoy Teamstar, reading the engaging story, which maybe one day could become the first big esports movie, or might enjoy playing the unique 5-on-5 video game. And with a little luck, you might be able to make some new gaming history together. Thanks. Well, to be honest, I think the game itself is... just as cool